Hi everyone, my name is Mary Mayberry. I was a teacher at Mon Valley School for 16 years. I taught secondary autistic support. I'm now one of the intervention specialists here at Mon Valley and as part of the Allegheny Intermediate Unit.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Fleming. I am one of the speech therapists at Mon Valley School. I have been there for the past 7 years. I work with our high school emotional support students in our high school life skill classroom. And we're going to get started. So this is our AIU mission and our vision. Our mission, we are an educational community that advocates and advances equitable opportunities for every learner. And then there is our vision. Through equitable access, all learners achieve their full potential. Who are we at Mon Valley School? So our students require special educational needs due to learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and or behavioral problems. We have students that are there from the age of 5 to 21, and we offer both full and part-time programs. Who are we? Mon Valley School has 230 students. Within those students, we have 150 full-time students and 80 vocational students with a 3-to-1 student-to-staff ratio. Within our program, we have 37 districts that feed into our school. Some of our students graduate at 18, but the majority of our students stay until they are 21. Our vocational students come to our school for at least 2 periods a day and then usually go back to their home district. Many of these students continue their education at Mon Valley School to prepare themselves before they enter the workforce. Who are we? Our educational program has elementary and secondary emotional support classrooms, autistic support classrooms, and life skill classrooms, as well as our vocational programs. We have a very diverse population of students, from nonverbal communicators, verbal communicators, as well as please watch your language communicators. Mon Valley has students that require one-on-one assistance, and we also have students that are able to navigate our school independently. As students reach secondary classrooms, they are given the opportunity to have job internships outside and in the community. We have students that go out to local businesses. We have them at the fire hall and nursing homes. So we are preparing them for their future. Our students also go out for community-based instruction as well as participate in vocational courses to help them figure out the right path prior to graduation. Who are we? Our school starts at what would be considered a Tier 3 in another setting. All of our students have an IEP, and most of them have a positive support plan. That being said, with the right school and staff, the students that are typically written off have the ability to learn and even strive. Our students challenge us, but they also surprise us every day. When I talk about my students, I often say, don't count my kids out. They may have learning curves, but they are capable of doing amazing things if one takes the time.
That's right. So that other slide, that was where Ms. Crystal, we would be tiers 4, 5, and 6. No? Okay. Okay. She says no to that, but okay. All right. So when we talk about the unique challenges that we have, our perceptions and stigma. When we talk about students from 5 to 21, staff sometimes had a difficult time comparing behaviors from a little 5-year-old autistic support student to an 18-year-old person in emotional support, and they didn't want to label that as a major behavior when it was the same behavior, or from a student who didn't have the skills or capacity to self-regulate. So it was much easier for them to it was much easier for emotional support teachers to kind of identify that and report that, which kind of started to seem to skew the data. And our goal is always inclusion, not to stigmatize. Terminology matters. When you talk about office discipline referrals, it kind of implies that there's going to be some action from the office, some kind of punishment, and students with disabilities are already more likely to face that, to have those harsh consequences. For students with complex needs, we need to move away from the punishment, away from the discipline, and toward proactive and inclusive measures. And also, if you have been in a setting like ours, you know the classrooms that have those major behaviors occurring throughout the day, and those are the teachers that now have to do all those reports and write all that paperwork. So it's a lot to ask them to do. So they're overworked, and I don't know about anybody out there, but we are so understaffed, right? So we chose to move to the Google Forms because of the difficulties that we were facing with the Swiss and those challenges. And the reason for that, we had our endless customization. We can take data on how the calm down rooms are being utilized, who needed to use a new care mat. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. So that's a good one, right? And for those who are entering the data, it's user-friendly. So it does take some work on the end of the person creating it, but it's user-friendly for those who are going to use the forms. I did a Google image search for the word discipline, and that's one of the first images that came up. That's the perception. So we wanted to remove discipline because of the connotations of the words that it implies, and we want to talk about like what interventions, what do we need, what does that student need, instead of what punishment are we going to give out. And then we've found that it made our teachers more comfortable with reporting the major behaviors because they were like, well, he didn't know better, I mean, this happened, but we need to track the data because we need to know what's happening. We still need to know the school-wide things, we need to know where it's happening, when it's happening, but it removes that connotation, and then it also removes the expectation, because sometimes those reports are coming in and teachers are saying, well, I put the report in, what's the principal going to do now? And a lot of times in our setting, that's handled in class. The teacher's handling that with the team. So it took that away. And again, we want to move away from those harsh punishments that typically happen for our kiddos with disabilities, especially our emotional and behavior students. So the mindset of our awesome teachers is already that we want to help the kids, not to punish them, and so we want to keep that. And so then we used our Google Forms, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Google Forms link into the sheets. So there, and Kayla's going to show you that in a little bit, you can sort the data by any criteria. So you can use the same things that you were doing in Swiss. Your child study team or your SAP team or whatever you have can get notifications. Everyone on the team can get notifications, not just specific people, whoever needs to, and we'll show you 2 ways to do that. All of our students have a Google form with their IEP goals for teachers to track and behaviors for teachers to track. We have it set up, and we can hopefully get time for that. When a teacher enters a major behavior, it populates to the school-wide form and to that student's individual form. So the teacher has access to the data in real time, does not have to enter the data twice, so they didn't have to go into Swiss and then track it in their classroom as well. And then we have confidentiality maintained, and we'll show you the setting to keep so only people in your organization can use the forms. So we'll get right into the major behavior stuff. I'm going to just exit out of here and pull up our master. So like Kayla said, we have full-time students and then we have vocational students. So our first thing is we want to track, is this a full-time student or a vocational student? So once you define your major behaviors and decide what you're wanting to track, then you can make your terms and language exactly match your setting. So when we go in here and we enter, we have a drop-down. This is very important to use a drop-down for your students' names. So I have Timmy, Sally, Joe, because we didn't want to use real students in here. But if I'm entering a major behavior for Timmy, and I write it as Timmy, and then you enter a major behavior and write it as Timothy, it doesn't stay together. So we want to use a drop-down box for here. Let me see. So maintaining confidentiality, I just mentioned. What you want to do is go into your settings. And over here it says restrict users. So my organization is Allegheny Intermediate Unit. So you want to check this box to restrict users to your organization so that there is confidentiality and no one else can access your form and see anything in it. Users do not have to have editing rights to this, so they don't get access to the responses. They can just see the questions. Only your team members that you make Editors will have access to the responses, except for those individual students when you, as the teacher, they would get it on their form. So that's another way to maintain confidentiality. I like to allow response editing because people always come to us and say, like, I messed that up. So I like to give them a way to go back and get it. And then here, we want to check verified for collect email addresses, because that gives you who's filling your form out, and so you can keep track of that without someone having to type their name in. It does it for them. All right. Let me see, restricting users. All right. When you create your major behavior, another fun thing to do is under more options on your question, you can say, go to section based on answer. So when I have a full-time, if they check the full-time student or the vocational, it goes to the correct section for them to fill out. And then at the end of the vocational student, it's going to tell them to go to the major behavior incident section. And for us, we have the date and time, the type of major behavior, which we have matching the language that we've taught our teachers, and in the forms that they have access to in our shared drive, so they know what we're requiring data on. And then we made our location specific to our building. We got a lot of questions sometimes when, well, we don't have a tech room, but we have a media, should I use that kind of thing? And if everybody's not on the same page, sometimes that's an issue. We want to look at antecedents because we're behavior people, so we like to put that on in there. But you can make whatever specific. I also like to, I also like to put places where people can put other things in, because they like to explain, well, it's not quite, there's not quite an answer to what that I like, so I want to write in what's going on. And then if there is an action needed, if you have your building principal or whoever is getting notifications for this, if it says in here that I want, the principal to do X, Y, Z, then they'll have access to that as well. And then I like to put in what strategies were effective to get the student to calm down. So on this, if you want to do it from the Google form, and Kayla will show you how to do it from the sheets here in a second, but you can do your add-ons, and then you have your email notifications. So you can add in your emails to everyone you want to have notification. If you do it from the Google Sheets, you can do either a daily digest, so you're not getting 3 or 4 or 5, because sometimes, teachers at the end of the day are putting in 5 different major behavior reports, and then you're getting email, so you might just want to do a digest. But if you want specific person to get notified right away when something happens, they can have it emailed at each time that it happens. And then we have, if there was a restraint or not, and whatever specific, if you have seclusion in your buildings, if there was a restraint, it goes to this next section. If there was not, then they were given the prompt to submit the form. If it goes here, we have links added in. So if you are filling this out, this little guy right here, this insert link, you can link that, and we have it linked to our restraint form and our restraint letter. It prompts the person to make a copy. If you notice in the address right there, it says copy instead of edit, because you don't want them to go in and edit your document. You want them to make a copy, and then it gives them the direction of who to share that with, and then our parent letter as well. Okay. Remind users to hit submit. So if they go in here and make this copy with a restraint form and then forget to submit it when it's done, you don't actually get that report. So remind users to hit submit. And the other thing that's fun is you can get a pre-filled link. So you can fill it out with the student's name and grade and whatever it is that you're tracking, and send it to that teacher, so that teacher has that specific link that automatically goes for that student. It starts partially filled out. So, all right, do you want sheets? Okay, Ms. Kayla's going to talk about how to get to sheets.
And don't stress about trying to write all of this information down. We did make cheat sheets for Google Sheets and for Google Forms. So they are both in the presentation as well as these documents that you can pull up at a later date so you can play around with them. So this is Google Sheets. And the nice thing about using Google Forms is if you scroll up at the top, sorry, left-handed problems. If you scroll up at the top, where is it at? Oh, if you go to responses, it'll say view in sheets. At that time, it'll open up all of the people's responses that have filled out the form. The nice thing about this is everything is in one spot, and then you can, so once you do that, the one thing that we say to do is at the end of the year, instead of losing all of this information, it's best to make a copy of this information. So you're going to go to File, make a copy. Then once you make a copy of this, you can delete the information you have, and you can save it into another folder from that year's, with that year's data. Another nice thing about Google Sheets is if you highlight a column, you can actually freeze it, so you know if you have a student or you're wanting to see, you don't want something to change, so you want to stick with the dates, but you want to see all of this information. If you click on View, you can freeze that row, so the row stays where it is. Oh, it should. Sorry. There we go. So now the row stays, but then you can keep scrolling over to see all of the other information. You can do that with student names, or if you're looking for a specific date. So whatever column you highlight, if you go to View, then you're able to freeze that row so it stays where it is. If you want to have specific notifications, you would go into Tools, go to Notifications, and then just like Mary stated before, at this point, this is where you can edit to show how you're getting the notifications. So if there's any changes, or if you want it just a daily digest, or if it's a student that is having some major concerns, you might want it right away. So you would click on that and save it, and then that information would be sent to your email. And then the last thing is if you would like to sort the information based on the material, so if you want to have it from a specific department or the type of major behavior, you can go to Data and you can sort the sheets. It could be by alphabetical order, or the function of it, you can figure out what you want to do there. I think that's it for Google Sheets.
Okay. I'll talk about it in more range.
Yeah. Do you want me to take that?
That's right. So, take what? Oh, so like I said before, we have it set up on ours so that each student has their own Google form. So I just made up our fake Sally and Timmy. Amanda and I, have folders for each classroom, folders for each student. So that student's folder follows them year to year. We can track the data for that kiddo over time. We add other things in there like the parent surveys and things like that, so that as the student moves up in a classroom, the new teacher gets all of that information, it travels with them. So like I said, there is a lot of work on the front end for us, but it works out well in the long run. Okay, so if you see on our masters, we had Sally here, and Sally had self-injurious behaviors in the cafeteria. And here's Sally. Oops, Sally has a lot of copies, sorry. And so Sally, here's some regular daily behavior stuff going in there. And we have like class periods with her physical aggression, et cetera. And then here's her major behavior. So if you look at this really crazy long formula right there, I create a separate tab to keep that from, so she has her IEP goal data, and then she has her major behavior data on a separate tab. You can do a query function from their form response to make whatever data you want populate to the other tab. And you can do an import range function to make data from one spreadsheet go to another. And then this really fun thing is a import range plus query function. So you put them together, and that means all of the behavior data that comes in the major behavior form that has the name Sally on that column will come to Sally's individual form. So Sally's teacher, so say Sally's in vocationals, the vocational area teacher puts in a major behavior form. Now the teacher has access to exactly what happened and doesn't have to wait till after school to go down and talk to the vocational teacher and see what happened. And then also with Sally's meetings coming up, the teacher doesn't have to go to the Swiss person and say, could you give me, a copy of all the majors that happened? Because, they always happen to vocationals. That's not where I am, so I don't see what's going on, and I need the data. So this way, that teacher has access to it. Your SAP team has access to it. Your behavior people, your principals, whoever needs to have access to the data all have access to it in real time. So it can be used for the school-wide, and it can be used to track individual student progress. So that was one of the things that was very important to us. Again, like I said, the teachers that have those major behaviors happening are exhausted. They want to go home at the end of the day. They don't want to enter that incident in 4 different times if they can help it. So if we can have them put it in one place and it goes all over, that is the goal. So here, and you have access to all of these things, but here is our cheat sheet for the query plus import range, okay? Here's what's really awesome about some of this stuff. Google puts out a lot of videos, and YouTube is your friend. So anything you want to do, you're like, how do I do this? It's on there. I put a link here to the video, so I'm not going to go through like the whole exactly how to do that because that would take way too much to do, not in a person-to-person. Kayla and I have our emails here, so if you want to walk through that, happy to do that. We can help you do that. But this walks you through what exactly you need to have. You need to have the URL of your spreadsheet, and you need to have what your criteria is. All right, so you have access to that. And the other thing that we do in our major behavior incident reporting, we have links. So there's a form that all teachers have access to that will link to the major behavior report for that student. So they can enter it in, they cannot access it and see it. So again, it's confidentiality, but they can make an entry of a major behavior. Again, you have to be signed into your Allegheny Intermediate Unit. So students, if they got a hold of this, can't do it because they are not logged in, so they can't be putting fake reports. The QR code is a really awesome thing too. We do a QR code maker, and teachers can have just a QR code and get access immediately from the iPad, from their cell phone, whatever it is. Again, they just have to be logged in. So if you drop that in Giant Eagle parking lot, a stranger couldn't access that as well. So they're keeping confidentiality that way. We also use Google Forms for our ticket tracking. And Dave Thomas, was he here this year from Keystone Oaks? Oh, okay. He was here? All right. I learned a lot of stuff from him, and one of the things I reached out to him because I was doing it backwards. We were trying to import range it to one central place, and then it was like, no, it's got to be a central place and then go out to the students. So we figured that out, but he did help with some of that. He was, and then one of the tips that he did last year that was just like, was erasing the data every year. Because we had student behavior data down to like 500, and then I'm trying to query function it so the teacher doesn't have to go through all that. I was like, duh. So he taught us that. So you can either do that on a separate tab and keep the same form. Just be careful if you copy and paste your stuff that has a formula, make sure you say paste value, because otherwise you're only copying the formula and all your stuff will go away. And then you'll be like, what happened? So copy and paste value. All right. Do we have anything else, Jiva? All right. So we have some time for, does anyone have questions? Ms. Crystal?
Do you have graphs there in the seats?
In this?
In real life?
In real life, 100%. That's what's awesome about this. Not only, let me talk. Not only do you get your graphs that you can create yourself in Sheets. But if you go into your responses here, I can go down here and say like, oh, look at, was it full-time or was it, look at how many Sally had, look at the department. So we don't go by grade level. We don't have a first grade, second grade, third grade. We have elementary autistic support, secondary autistic support. So, when we're entering a thing, sometimes we're kind of like, what grade is he in? I don't know. Let me go look it up and find out, because it doesn't track that way. But we can track it by, look how frequently it's elementary support. You could go down and see the types of behaviors that are occurring, where they are. So this graphs it this way. And like Kayla was saying about how you want to empty the data, stop that. Empty the data in your Sheets yearly. You also want to do that in your Google form, because all the data that you have, you can actually copy this if you want to keep this graph the way that it is and put it elsewhere. I put them on Google Docs, and then I put that in that folder. But all your data is in the Sheets. So as long as you have that data, when you erase it from the forms, it's not gone. You just don't have it in the form anymore, and then it'll make brand new graphs each year, and it's accessible to you right away. It's also nice when you want to look at restraint numbers, because it's giving you that information in real time right there that you can go access it quickly.
Also,
This is a little harder to see, and I'm sorry, I'm good. So this is a little harder to see if we're using the example of what we're acting like in school. But we say there's no useless information that we usually get for the Swiss or our data management. So we need to in Swiss was language. And that's not.
That's daily. We'd be doing majors all the time. Threats? Oh, geez, okay.
I would say, Mary, I think we spend a lot of time learning this, and it saves so much on the back end that real useful data that we can use to make good decisions.
That's, because, yes.
When you're doing your queries, and you're going from like A to B, are those tabs within the spreadsheet, or are they in different sheets?
I do it, so we have a different kind of system. Kayla does hers and makes a new sheet. I keep mine in the same sheet and make a different tab. And then I just label the,
Either one will work, so you can either have it go to a whole different sheet,
Okay.
or you can have it go to the different tab.
Thank you, that
Yes.
Tools that have issues with Microsoft, because I'm personally my school is Microsoft tool. I work Google, but I don't have access to Google, I can't use any of this kind of post.
in Excel.
Excel, and also they have their own version.
You do like the OneDrive, is that what you
Yeah,
use, the SharePoint?
or like,
Do you have more for you?
It's pretty similar to that, yes, so you can still use a form in, sorry. Sorry, I'm used to just talking really loud. You can still use, they do have a similar form in SharePoint that also can make the sheets. Because my speech department, we use SharePoint, but for our school, we use Google. So there is something similar. Yes?
So I wondered about how much time did you invest to set this up on the upfront? Like how much did it take? And then also, did you do it in layers where you created a certain level of things you're documenting and then you added more in there? And what was that process like?
Well, it was definitely a learning curve. We learned a lot through creating and then going, oops, and then going back through 150 forms to fix it. It was a lot in the beginning. I think it would have been a lot less had I known a lot of what I know now. So that's why we wanted to present too, is to kind of, here, learn from our mistakes and don't do that. Yes.
So while you were presenting, because I love Google Forms, and so while you were presenting, I started creating this for my grade level, and I'm almost done. If that gives anybody, and we have over 100 students in our grade level. If you have all of your students listed in a like
Yes, copy.
That'll save them a lot of time.
if you highlight all of those students and Control-C, you can Control-V it right into your Google form.
Yes.
I'm doing the same with all of the behaviors, and I'm almost done.
Thanks.
So as long as you have all of the students in a spreadsheet, it's very, very easy to copy and paste.
The
And
only,
I also had to like really play around with it because they weren't in the right format. I'm type A, so I had to fix that and put in a place to change that. But that's what took the longest.
if a student has, just on the same, when I'm copying and pasting out of the roster, if a student has an apostrophe, I usually take that out of the form because when you add the formulas in, Google Forms or Google Sheets gets confused and thinks it's part of the formula. So just FYI, if you're like, why isn't it working for Tyre? It's that. Take that little apostrophe out and then it'll be okay. Yes.
Have you ever tried as a student reflection sheet with students? Because that's our first step, is they reflect on these. Have you ever tried that?
We have individual teachers that do that. We've done a little bit with that. And we do a lot of like preference, what's going on with you, what do you need, kind of, not that sounded terrible, but you know what I mean. We have, and Dave Thomas, credit wherever he is, the students can choose their picture too. We figured out you can add in images, so if a student's not a reader, you can add images for them to choose instead. We also do, and if you're going to Amanda and Crystal and their presentation next, they'll talk a lot about it, but we have a SWIBIS room and a SWIBIS sensory carts that they can sign up for, and there are links that go in there, so if a kid wants that, they can click on that link on that picture. So again, if you can just add pictures and have them able to answer their survey that way. Or the picture of the student, if they want to choose themselves, if they get a ticket and they want to put their own name in, you could do that. But I love the idea of a student doing it themselves. You would just need to make sure you click the part where they don't have to be an AIU employee or whatever.
I think you can, sorry, Crystal, to play on here, we do have students that do the check and check out with their teachers, that they're monitoring their behaviors at the beginning of the day, and then how did they either help themselves or what did they need help from others. And right now, we still do a lot of paper forms because a lot of our learners, even 18, 21 years old, are still earlier learners. But it is absolutely something that we can move forward to. But this has been, I think we're in our 4th year of doing this in the making. So I just feel like the possibilities with this type of data collection is endless. And I think that the biggest thing for it is everything all at once. We just couldn't make Swiss work for us. It's great for other places. It did not work for us. And we had to come up with something else. So to answer your question a little bit too, they're tracking major behaviors at this point. So in a public school, you may be tracking minors and classrooms and majors. And your minors might be where you have some reflection sheets and things like that. So you could set something like this up where you could link it in just like they do their restraint forms. But right now they have that put somewhere outside.
So I have 2 questions. First one, how often do you guys do behavioral team meetings? So like taking the data and discussing what you received from the data and what your plan is going forward with the data that you have collected?
School-wide, it's biweekly. On a student need, it's based on need on a student basis.
Next question is, how do you use the data that you collected to try to find fit for a student? Because a lot of the kids I have in my emotional support classroom are not emotional well-being. People are non-emotional support, non-autistic support. They fit autistic support, but they don't.
Combination.
Right, we have a lot of those, yeah.
And I just never feel like they ever get the appropriate thing. And then you feel like they need this and know they need this. And then your school psychologist comes and is like, this needs this. But no, he or she needs this. So how do you guys, your school system, very heavily behavioral school, how do you guys use the data to make those decisions? Because that's what I'm trying to do in my situation.
So if you go into that individual student, if they have a lot of major behaviors entered, or if they're tracking the minors as well, you can look at setting and sort it based on that and kind of look at like, when are they having the best behaviors? It's in this setting, and that's how you kind of present. And you just really have to look at the data for that kiddo and what's working, what's not working. And if it's, hey, every time they're over here in this push-in class, they're doing really well, maybe we should expand on that and kind of push in a little bit more. Again, I don't know your setting, but it would,
Unfortunately, a lot of the times, especially in the regular school setting, once a student is put in a placement, the special ed directors and stuff are not really willing to change.
well, in that case, data is your friend. I mean, because you're anecdotal, they're just hearing you say, well, this is my opinion, and what you need to do is present. Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
The other nice thing about the Google Forms is if you see the copy buttons, you can copy this chart and put it right into the student's IEP, which can give you another visual for your IEP as well. And it gives you more proof of why they need the support that they do. Yeah. Any other questions? Go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry if I missed this. We have a lot of different people involved in one behavior. Are you able to go back and edit, so the classroom teacher, the behavior management team, we're in a school just like you are.
Yeah.
You can keep editing until you get your final product?
You mean like if someone enters something that needs to be edited, like take other students' names out or something?
Or more like behavioral start in the classroom, the teacher can provide that information, but it ends in a restraint, which the behavior team provides. And right now, we're doing exactly what we're talking about. We're trying to make Swiss work and nothing's bridging and we're changing names.
Yeah.
So could somebody then go in and kind of edit that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as you make your team, your core team editors on there. We have the major behavior ones in a separate, so it's on our drive, so people can access the form and enter, but they can't access that to edit it, but Amanda and I can, our principals can, our core team can. But the student ones, we make teachers, they can edit those forms, so they can see that information and get access to the real-time data there. Okay, any other questions? There's maybe 5 minutes left, so I mean, Kayla and I can just stay here for a few more minutes if someone wants to come up individually, if there's something else you want to.
I think it's 3:15, but that's fine.
No, we're till 3 and then
Oh,
there's a,
okay.
right? Or do we go till 3:15?
We'll work.
Oh, well, no one's going to be mad at us if they do.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. Do you have anything in your form? I used to use Swiss, so I'm trying to remember some of the aspects of it. Do you have anything in there about like what preceded the incident, or what you felt the incident?
Yeah.
Yes, so we have, our questions are, we have the setting, so what was going on, was there work being presented, is it transition, is it peer interaction, is it, et cetera, and then we have the perceived function. So,
For us, more than anything, is the behavior people, and that's why we can't stress enough how awesome these forms are, because Mary and I can pull out the stuff that we're looking at for an FBA, or the teachers can pull out where they're finding the difficult times of day is for their classroom, or Dr. Dow can look and go, okay, arrival time is really hard, we need to do another rollout lesson for arrival for our PBIS program. So I think that that's where it's Swiss. We just couldn't get out what we needed, and teachers were taking data in Swiss. Then they were doing our school behavior form. Then they were doing restraint forms. Then they were doing parent communication and action plans. And it was, I mean, I don't know how many of you are teachers. I'm not a teacher, and I don't know how any of you do it.
that's why, so I'm coming from being a teacher, 16 years as a teacher, and then, 4 years now as a behavior specialist, intervention specialist, and I was like, that's my mission. I'm gonna make this easier for teachers. It's gonna happen, so.
Just a quick question, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm on your presentation slide, but we don't have access to some of the.
It should prompt you to make a copy. It's not doing that?
It's asking me to request access when I click on the behavior form.
Then we'll have to change it so that it's for anybody. So you can have it so that it's just your school that can access it, and you can have it that anybody from Abilene can access it. So we might just have to.
Okay, I can just go
Change
in and
that.
change that. Do I have to do it for each individual one?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, the emails are on there. Links to your cheat sheets are on there. The cheat sheets also have links, and then these are links to, they should be links to make a copy so that you could, play with it before you go to make your own, so you can learn
If
from
you
our
go to
mistakes.
Wait, if you go
That's
to the
a s-
actual form,
Yeah,
and then you go to share. You can
no, that's sending. So, no, it's not in there. No, I don't want to add anybody. What's that? Yeah, and then, oops, I'm in the school, I need to be out of 108. Oops,
Right here. And then it should be anybody who has the link.
no, see, this is adding managers, I don't want to do that. Yeah, it says allow access.
People outside, oh, it does say allow people outside.
Probably still have to request the permission.
To make, okay.
Yeah, and then you guys are just
We'll
gonna
just
have to
request it.
approve them.
That's fine too. No, it's no big deal.
That's why we need an extra 15 minutes.
Okay, great. Oh wait, but it's still, anyone with the link. There we go.
I mean, but I had it as copy, I didn't think
Yeah.
you had to do that if you were just having copy, but,
Because then they'll view it and then they can make their own copy.
I don't have to actually open it, but, come on.
I was gonna say, it should work now.
If it loads. That's why I opened my, here, let me just get out of there and I'll just do this. Make sure everybody's good.
Yep, restricted.
Well, this is in my drive. Their link should be in the, this is, so that might be why, because I made copies and put it in their drive.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that one's good. That must have been yours. You did it right.
Email addresses, they could ask me if they can't get it, because I'm not sure that Patton will give.
Yeah. But I think the links in our
It's in our presentation.
presentation I probably didn't think about that.
But that's it. That's at the end of our presentation. Thank you guys for coming.